But courtesy of our friends over at Zephyr Epic, let's do it. Let's get to the Abbotsford Canucks head coach, Jeremy Colliton. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
We're doing good.
Any of those NCAA guys you like, Jeremy? I'm just kidding.
Oh, I haven't had time to watch them.
Well, instead of that, why don't we spend 15 minutes talking about the officiating last night? Again, I'm kidding. We do want to dive into some of the development here with some of these young players out there in Abbotsford and how you guys are kind of running up here on the playoffs. Let's start there because it's an interesting time for the AHL season. There's a lot of roster movement going around. How are you guys kind of dealing with the roster movement that you have to go through here as the playoffs are just around the corner, 20 or so more games?
Yeah, well, it's obviously it is a bit of a challenge. We're missing some guys right now, but you got to look at it as opportunity for a bunch of our guys to play a bigger role, play more minutes, fight for what maybe it's a role in the playoffs, or maybe it's just right now development opportunity by being on the ice when the game's on the line. And obviously we're in the fight for positioning for the playoffs. We're trying to get home ice, trying to get a better seed, and so these games are big, and so it's a chance for us to evaluate some guys who maybe were playing further down the lineup before, or they were being sheltered because of the lineup we had, and it's that we're challenging them to take advantage, and it's great information that we're gaining for sure.
Jeremy, Canucks fans have gotten a chance to see Artur Silovs have success at the NHL level this year. Obviously, he's had a lot of success at the AHL level. What have you seen from him this year, and how much of it just, is from developing from the start of the year to where he's at now? Have you seen much change, or what have you seen from him this year?
Yeah, I think he's had an excellent year of development. You just look at, for me, just the feeling when he was in the net at the start of the year. We liked him, and he's a big prospect, but he's becoming more and more just stable in there and giving confidence to the team when he's in the net, making the saves that you got to make, and then every once in a while he steals one for you, and that's huge, and that's what hopefully you want to see at our level. Just that growth. I think when he was basically the only guy here for a while. Obviously we had Kupski and we were able to play him a couple games, but we really leaned on Artie. Like he played a ton of games when he, in the past, obviously the last couple of years hasn't played that many, and that was a big challenge for him. And I thought that was huge for his development. And I guess now the challenge, he's had a taste at the NHL level, and I don't know if he's going to get more or not, but to take another step at our level and be a guy who steals games for us and can really hold us in, especially now when our lineup isn't as strong as it was before. That's a great opportunity for him to show that he can do the job.
We've heard about his work ethic a lot. How much has he done work with Marco Terenius this year, like on your coaching staff there? Has it been, is it like okay, they're out first, they're also out last type thing? Like what's the relationship between those two like?
Yeah, well, typically we give the goalies time before practice. They always have 15, 20 minutes to go through the technical stuff and make sure they're ready so that when we start practice, they're ready to face, it's not so much a warm-up situation as we're starting going 100 miles an hour. So they get work in, before practice really consistently. And I think, Artie's he has worked at it. He's been committed. And I think that's one area we've seen improvement even is his practice habits and being consistent every day with his compete level and not wasting those ice times. I think a lot of guys need to learn that lesson, and we've definitely seen growth there from him.
I'd like to get your thoughts on Linus Karlsson as well, because it feels like any day now I could see him in a Vancouver Canucks jersey is the way that I've watched him kind of evolve into this league. And I talked to Ryan Johnson on Monday, and he kind of talked about Karlsson and Baines being a couple guys that he used as an example that they're coming over from a different league. Not necessarily they need to throw out what they did in that league to have success, but they've had to reinvent themselves. How have you seen that with Linus? Because when I saw him in the SHL, power play guy, wasn't that effective at 5-on-5. I didn't think he forechecked like a guy who was going to have success here. All that's gone out the window this year. It really feels like he has reinvented himself in the AHL here.
Yeah, well, it is a new environment. I think for the European guys who come over, they really have no idea what the American League is, and it's an adjustment and just understanding how competitive it is, and the challenge that you're going to face every night, and the grind, the schedule, and the style of play. I think that takes time for them to get their head around. It's the same going the other way though. Like when American League guys go over to Europe, or even guys who played NHL games, they go over, and I don't think they understand what they're getting into sometimes, and it takes time to adjust. So it's hard to have success on both sides. But I think as the years have gone on, Carly's really understood what he has to do to have success, and like I think some of his biggest strengths are, his puck protection, his play down low in the offensive zone, his play along the boards, net front. Those are the things that are going to stick out for him, that he can hopefully transfer if he does get a chance at the next level. And then, he's working on, defensive play, reaction, trying to, get speed, generate speed without cheating. Obviously I think, Carly's really worked at his skating this year, and that's something that, hopefully he'll continue to improve. I think sometimes when you don't trust your skating, you can cheat the game and try to get speed when it's not the right time. He's got to find ways to get speed without cheating, and I think he's done a good job of that as the years gone on, understanding when he can keep his speed and when he's got to stop and start and just grind it out.
Speaking of speed, one of the guys you have on the back end that does a lot of that, Jack Rathbone, who's kind of getting up to speed just playing games again. I think over the last couple of years, that's been a difficult thing for him. And when I talked to him last night, I asked him about it. Like, it's difficult to be stretchered off the ice twice in 13 months and to come back from that mentally and just that situation. How much of a different player are you seeing today than a few weeks ago when he returned from injury? Because it feels like he's starting to find that groove again.
Yeah, I agree. I think both times, when he came down, and then he kind of was nicked up a little bit there around Christmas. He played a bunch of games in a row, and he was starting to get going. And then he gets hurt and misses a bunch of time, and then kind of the same thing this time. He come back, and it's hard to get up to speed. And I think also for him, just understanding what we value. He can make plays. He's got a big shot. He's dynamic with the puck, but he's got to defend first and be stable and reliable with his puck plays, and those things are what's going to make him a viable player at the next level. And I think the more he plays, this year, both kind of rotations that he's gone through, he's gotten better as he's played more games. And right now, he's getting a ton of opportunity, ton of ice time. We need him, but we need him to be good at both ends. We need him to produce, but we also need him to play against top players. He's not, he doesn't have Brisebois, Juleson, Wolan, and Wu to play ahead of him, and then he can just play against third and fourth lines. He's got to take the matchup, and it's a big challenge. So it's a great opportunity for him, and I think he's going the right direction.
Jeremy, a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans that haven't had an opportunity to go to Abbotsford or see the atmosphere, kind of go along this AHL season and ride along with the team out there, are kind of jumping on board now because playoff hockey is just around the corner. And I wonder, do you think when you look at your team in the playoffs here, do you feel, is it pressure? Is it excitement? Like, what are the thoughts of your perspective going into the AHL playoffs here? Because you're going to get some young guys back. You're going to get Podkolzin coming back, Willanen coming back. We saw them all papered down on the deadline. For you, what is the level of, I guess, emotion, or what emotions do you guys feel as this is kind of built up towards the AHL playoffs from a Vancouver fan perspective of kind of just jumping on board now?
Yeah, I think it's excitement and understanding the opportunity that we have. I mean, that's why you play. You play to win. You play to win championships, and playoffs that's the best time of year to be in this game. And so that's why you work to make the playoffs, to get that opportunity. And I think for development for the organization, it's a great opportunity, and we want to take advantage. we need to use this time, even if we don't have the full group down here. We got to do everything we can to uphold the standard that we kind of established in the beginning of the year, so that when we do get to the playoffs, that will be in place. We can't just flick the switch. We get a bunch of bodies in, and we're just gonna put it all together and play a best of three. It's we got that. That's the urgency right now, is to try to keep that level, keep those habits, and so that when we do get to playoff time, the table is set, and the guys that we are able to slide in, they can just it'll be an easier transition, because it is a great opportunity and we want to take advantage, and we don't want this to be just a 2-game thing. That's where we're going to see the real strides taken for our group, is going nose to nose with some of these top teams in a 5-game or 7-game series. That's what will help prepare them for the next level.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's the difference that we're seeing this year, is the chance that the guys who are going to be there have already played there this season. Last year, we saw some guys get dropped in just for the playoffs, and that's a tough thing to do. So I think the comfortability is massive for what you guys are going to have. And that strange kind of little play-in series is going to be very fun. And I know a lot of people out in Abbotsford are hoping that you guys are able to host that. Can't let you go without Danila Klimovic question, Jeremy. I think you know this. Haven't been putting up as much offense lately, but I've seen you playing him a little bit more later in games as well, and doing some things away from the puck well. What are you seeing from him lately, and what do you need to see more of from him over the past few games here?
Yeah, it's a challenging time for him right now. I think, like you said, he had a real good stretch, 6 weeks where he was producing and really making strides. And I think now it's harder, because we don't have the depth as much where we can protect him as far as matchups or even line mates. I think that was the strength of our team earlier on, is he was playing with Waters and Baines. They're basically playing fourth line. So, and getting really good matchups. And I think that was a great situation for him to get opportunity and produce. And now it's harder for him. We're asking more of him individually to maybe help drive a line himself, or to play in some tougher matchup situations. And so that's it's a great opportunity for him. And if he can take advantage of it, it'll be a great sign. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. It's just, we got to keep going, and there's more work to do, and we know that. So that's he's still a young kid and working at carving out a role and identity at our level, and it's going to take time.
Absolutely. Now that you've been here for a little bit, Jeremy, have you found a restaurant you love out in Abbotsford? I think we asked you this early on in the season. Have you found a destination that's a regular one for you now?
Well, definitely not regular. We're on the road so much that it's tough. And then when we're home, it's usually going to hockey practice with my boys, or gymnastics with my little girl. So, but guess where was I? The last place I was at was Bow and Stern. That was really good spot.
All right, we'll get them to send you a gift card.
Sounds good.
So Jeremy, really appreciate you taking the time. I know a lot of people in the chat were saying they loved your answers here, so very much appreciate you hopping on here as always. And I'm sure we'll do this maybe before playoff time or something. So best of luck to you guys out there in the Valley.
Yeah, well, thanks for your support and interest, and hopefully we have a good run here.
Absolutely. There he is, Jeremy Colliton, head coach of your Abbotsford Canucks.